I'm so hyped for this goddamn ledger update. This is fantastic. Now we can easily share our private key with anyone from around the world. No more pesky fishers trying to steal from us. They'll just get it delivered directly to them. It's perfect. I'm so hyped. Thank you, Ledger.
GM, and welcome back to the channel. In this one, we're taking a look at Ledger. Have they just killed off their business model? We're going to have a look at the backdoor situation here because it seems like your seed phrase can now leave your Ledger device. Very worrying stuff. If you enjoy the content today, make sure you subscribe to the channel and drop me a GM in the comments down below. So there is no backdoor, reads the article here from Blockworks. So what's going on here? Well, there's a new subscription service coming from Ledger Nano X, and it will be a recovery tool for your seed phrase. So this one will be an opt-in service and it requires you to subscribe to the subscription. It costs you money, believe it or not. So Mudip Gupta, the CIO of Polygon, tweeted this: Ledger just released a new update for the Nano X, allows you to socially recover your seed phrase. It will encrypt your seed phrase into 3 shards and then send those 3 shards to 3 separate trusted entities. So your 24-word seed phrase gets broken down in 3 lots of 8, presumably, and sent in an encrypted form to those 3 custodians. And say you lose your ledger or you get it stolen or whatever, you need to pass the ID verification. From this, you can then reconstruct your seed phrase. So it sounds rather dodgy, and it sounds like your Ledger device now is going to be potentially enabled to send the seed phrase away from itself. This is not what we signed up for. So you can see from the screenshot down here, firmware update 2.2.1. So you would be required to download this new firmware update and opt into this service for this to go live. So recommendation number 1 is to not go onto Ledger Live. We don't need to use Ledger Live in order to operate the Ledger device. So I think as is, the Ledgers should be okay to just use, but this of course is going to give a bit of a confidence knock. And I personally don't feel as secure using my Ledger today as I did yesterday before learning about this. But what they're stating is that you need to subscribe to the service in order for this to actually happen. So without you clicking the buttons on the screen directly, apparently your device will be safe. CZ Binance did chirp in, so the seed can leave the device now. Sounds like a different direction than your keys never leave the device, which was the original messaging and one of the reasons why ledgers have such a prominent part of this space. Everyone says, get yourself a ledger, make sure you store it on a ledger, don't keep your funds on MetaMask, etc. So on social media, the likes of Twitter, Foobar as an example here, replying to the Reddit thread, is there a backdoor, yes or no? He says, look, stop using ledger hardware wallets, migrate away from them immediately. They've shown nothing but gross incompetence and wild misunderstanding of their own purpose. And now they've publicly admitted to intentionally backdooring their own proprietary hardware. Stop using Ledger. So they did put out a tweet thread. They've also done a Twitter Spaces in response to the uproar around this, which I did listen to, but to be honest with you, they just reiterate the same things you can find in the article here, this kind of statement. So the CTO stated this: there is no backdoor for anyone, neither us, a provider, or even a gifted hacker to access it. A backdoor would mean we control all Ledger devices and could run automated updates, for example. That is not the case. It will never be the case. Only you can use the functions on your ledger. No one else can enter the PIN code and press those buttons. But this has not been taken very well, because the fact is, what they're stating is a service is going to go live that if you enable the firmware update, your operating system itself will be able to disperse your encrypted seed phrase to 3 foreign third parties. Therefore, your seed phrase leaves your device. It also is live on the internet. Presumably, they're using API keys. You also have to pay for this feature. You have to complete a KYC. There are just so many red flags around this. It's rather extraordinary this passed the PR test before going live here. So who the heck is this actually for? Well, clearly it is for newbies entering the space, because this is all about, it's tricky to hold 24 words on a piece of paper and keep them secure. So how can we make this pleb proof? Well, they've created this new product line, an optional subscription service. They state it's not automatically enabled by any firmware updates. It is your choice to actually download that firmware and then subscribe to the service. They state they use a BIP 39 standard for the generation of the secret recovery phrase. I don't know if that's any good. And if you choose to subscribe, Ledger Recover encrypts a version of your private key and splits it into 3 fragments. All of this happens on the secure element chip, so your secret recovery phrase is not at risk. It sounds a lot like just trust us tech, and the fact is you then have to trust 3 different third parties. The 3 third parties are Escotech, CoinCover, and Ledger themselves. So they can't really state, look, we never see your recovery phrase, you're one of the third party custodians. Yes, it will be encrypted, but we know things go amiss, and we know they have history with misplacing customer information. This is December 2020. Ledger data leak. A simple mistake exposed 270,000 crypto wallet buyers. This gave away personal information such as your name and your full home address, your mobile number, that kind of stuff. I received loads of spam emails, random calls from people trying to phish my data, and a whole load of stress around the fact you think, well, someone could turn up to your house and do the old $10 wrench attack on you because they know you hold some crypto funds. So these guys already have a bit of a bad history with a breach of consumer data. So would you therefore now trust them to securely look after your seed phrase and shard it into 3 parts to themselves and 2 other companies that you've never heard of? The answer, in my book, is no. So things went off a bit in the comment section around this one. Foobar, it's opt-in, you don't have to use it. He says this is misdirection. A hardware wallet should have a secure enclave where the private key never leaves the device under any circumstances. They've opened APIs for the enclave to send encrypted key shards to third parties on the internet. Cobie replies to one of these tweets, does this mean that every ledger has the functionality in the firmware even if you're not turning it on? Someone says no, but he says, look, are you sure? This implies yes. This is Pascal, CEO. The operating system has many functions, but only you can activate them. So this seems to imply yes, the ledger has the functionality, but you have to click the few buttons. Well, surely someone will be able to get around that. So Cobie tweeted this from the FAQ section. What happens if I stop paying my subscription? So if you don't update your payment info and pay the subscription within 7 days, you won't be able to restore your private keys using Ledger Recover. He tweets, imagine losing everything because your bank card expired. That is the kind of crazy issues you can see unfolding with this new subscription service. So things to do now. Don't open Ledger Live. Do not download the firmware update. Also, do not subscribe to the service. And fourthly, you probably want to get yourself a Trezor device now, as the fact is they've lost a load of confidence in the customer here. We don't know if this is a backdoor system to retrieve recovery phrases or not. And it all seems like a bit of a shambles here and as clear as mud. So if in doubt, pull out. And last but not least, the main concern here is the fact you have a government-sponsored hacking group, the Lazarus Group of North Korea. And as you can see from data here, in 2022, they stole over $1.7 billion worth of crypto funds. They're actually responsible for 1/3 of all crypto theft in the region of Japan. So this country has its own team of hackers. And imagine them reading this information about Ledger with their subscription service, sending off shards of encrypted seed phrases. These guys are literally going to be going after that hammer and tongs. So for me personally, I no longer feel that comfortable using my Ledger device, and I'll be looking for these alternatives like Trezor and researching some new ones as well. So here is the latest Ledger Nano X tutorial. I'll just play this little one for you in the background here. So this is from Oklahodl, who has taken the hammer to his Ledger and then starts to absolutely torch it as well. Whether you want to do this and follow along at home, I'm not sure. Not recommended here on my channel. But as you can see, this is a PR worst nightmare for Ledger. Confidence in the company now at an all-time low, and a load of the customers off to find another alternative. So drop me a comment down below. What do you make of this whole debacle? I will see you in the next one, guys. Subscribe if you're new. Peace.